Today, we're diving into one of the fastest evolving segments of the retail industry. Retail media has shifted from a niche opportunity to a major revenue engine for retailers and a critical growth lever for brands. To help us make sense of where the category is heading and what leaders should expect as we look toward 2026 beyond, we brought one of the most knowledgeable voices in the field. Sherry Smith is the president of retail media at Criteo, where she leads the company's global retail media strategy and its AI-driven monetization solutions. She brings more than 20 years of experience partnering with some of the world's largest retailers and brands, helping them unlock the value of the first-party data and drive measurable commercial outcomes. Sherry has been working in retail media long before it became the industry trend everyone is talking about. Today, she joined us to break down how the space is transforming, what the next wave of growth will look like, and what retail leaders need to prepare for the year ahead. Here's Paula Macadi, and this is episode 97 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Sherry, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to OFFBounds.
Thank you so much, Paula. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited because we're going to talk about such a trendy topic, and we've talked about it like several times here on the show. But you've joined retail media, the retail media world in 2008.
Yes.
And I feel like we only started really talking about it in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
How was retail media when you started?
It's interesting, and there are a lot of comparisons to today. But when I started in 2008, everyone was learning at the time, the big players, and I was working with Walmart, pre-Walmart Connect, when Walmart was just at its infancy. And everybody was learning not only about retail media at the time, but digital media.
Yeah.
And so I had the opportunity to join at a time when everybody was in it together and figuring it out. And so it was a fun way to start. And it's changed so much since then. From, at the very beginning in 2008, more about how do I find my store, what samples were happening in the store at the time. And some of this has come full circle to seeing ad units appear on the site and so on and so forth. And, made a huge jump in 2020 once the pandemic hit and once really...
And then it became fully digital.
And really what was so good about it for the industry, a few things. I mean, obviously Amazon had been posting significant gains in their retail media ad spending, but it pushed retailers to prioritize their e-commerce sites because, with 10 to 15, maybe 20% of sales happening online, if you're lucky, coming from retail media, that was always deprioritized. And it's also, too, a low margin business. And so retailers had to think fast about whether it's pickup or, order or ship or whatever it might be to how their e-commerce sites function and to how they how do they get profitability on a business? And so just seeing that come so far in a short number of years, that's when RMN started to really pop up. And you went from maybe 3 to 5 pretty good sized players to, today, well over, depending on what you read. For us, it's, well over 230 retailers globally that we work with. And so it's been quite the change. And retailers have realized there's a lot of profitability in this. It's a great way to connect with customers. Brands have realized it's the way to look at from end to end that customer journey, be able to see truly the ROI. So it's been fun. It's been a fun adventure. It's been a tough adventure, but it's been this constant learning.
But do you think there was a steeper curve?
Yes.
I feel like from 2008, it was growing like this and evolving like this. And then in 2020 was just like a steep growth.
1,000%.
But also I imagine, I see it. I talk to several leaders that are starting to invest in retail media, finding out, do you think while there was a steep of growth, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of challenges that retailers and brands had to assimilate to make it happen?
To some degree still are. In fact, absolutely still are. But yeah, everybody had to take a crash course. You think about 2020, 2021, there was truly a significant amount of learning. There was an RMN being launched every other week. You think about organizations and how they had to organize themselves. And even to today, not only ad formats changing, but talent, the type of talent that retailers are acquiring to be able to power.
And where it sits, right? I think.
Yes, where it sits. And they are still ongoing, where it sits and how businesses need to transform. And so that's been an interesting one to watch as well. And then, yes, you see the trajectory of growth. I mean, to be in an industry that's posting 20, 30+% year-over-year gains year after year after year, which many of the solid retailers and RMMs, that's what they're doing. There's not many businesses that can say that. And so, yeah, it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, I imagine that it must be very exciting for you to watch from where you started and where it is now, and all the challenges that you can support people to understand.
People know my world now.
Yeah, you don't have to explain anymore what you do.
No, it's fine. It's funny. I didn't come from the ad tech world. I came from Shopper and more of your traditional marketing. And when I would go to these ad tech conferences, they had like their own language and their own club. And I was like, I didn't come from that. And now I feel retail media is very much that. When you go to these events, there's so much more networking that's happening, and it's people coming from ad tech and people coming from various data companies, and it's really merged together. And so now it feels, to me personally, it feels more like my club now. And that's fun. That is fun.
It's the ad world and the shoppers' visibility, like I'll say, the shoppers' view and perspective that is merging now.
Yeah, people want in this space so badly. And they want to learn it. And really, there were a handful of us that were here at the beginning. But I'm super proud, but I also too excited to have seen such a revolution happen the last 5 years, really. And it's still ongoing. So
and now that I think several retailers already figured out many things, a lot others have figured out, and a lot of brands also are figuring out. I feel like retail media is kind of becoming something else than it used to in this last 4 years, let's say. Where do you see the industry going?
Yeah. Well, I think when you think about where retail media is today versus where it's going to go, we've come a long way when you think about the customer always being at the center. And if you keep that as your North Star, that's where you're going to continue to go. Retailers have had to think a lot the last 4 or 5 years about their data privacy, how they're going to leverage their data. Brands and marketers have had to think about how they measure. In fact, measurement is still the topic of conversation. But you think about where things are going today, not only with the growth of RMNs, but also too thinking about the customer and how the customer is continuing to change, thinking about AI and how AI and agentic is changing things so rapidly. We're on that next cusp of what I talked about 5 years ago of learning together and doing so rapidly and figuring out how do we come together to think about, for example, retailers, their ad experience is different from their merchandising experience. It's different from their customer behavior on the site. And for a marketer, it's, they've got their marketing world over here, shopper sitting over here, digital sitting over here, and different forms of measurement. And so there are big changes coming when you think about how AI is going to really evolve and agentic is going to evolve, that retailers are no longer going to be able to keep those three things distinct. They're going to have to think about that customer in one cohesive journey because customer's going to demand it. And they're going to push us all forward. And same thing with a brand or a marketer. They've really got to be thinking about their own organization and how they look at measurement across and how they think about those touch points. And so that, to me, I think is exciting in this space right now as we're on that next cusp. I think retailers are absolutely going to have to move towards self-serve. They've been a really heavy managed business. Outside of sponsored products on site, you think about some of their traditional, more their media, not only like a display ad units, which is heavy managed service, but also too, what's happening in store. We're having a revolution of bringing all of that really to more of these self-service tools, a self-service environment, and being able to measure.
Before I continue, just because I'm very curious, can you elaborate more on what is this self-service?
When you think about a brand or an agency being able to go online and actually activate all of their campaigns from end to end and be able to bring in their audiences and measure in one single, yes. And not only doing that within one particular vehicle, like search, like sponsored search, but actually being able to do that across the entire digital ecosystem, self-serve, and not have to just get a black box managed service. Here's how I will execute, and really not know anything until the very end of the campaign. Did it work? Did it not work? Having somebody else hands-on keyboard. And so that's one of the big things. We just launched our auction for display, which is a big deal for self-serve. And that's going to change the way that retailers and brands interact with their on-site media. We've seen that evolution happen with sponsored search. And now we believe very much so it's going to happen between search and display. And not only search and display, but also you think about TV in store or in-store radio, or even their events that they're doing. Everything is really going to come more to this self-service portal with the ability to actually execute from end to end.
We've been talking so much about unified commerce. It's almost like a unified retail media ecosystem.
It absolutely is an ecosystem. Yeah. That's where everything is headed. And then again,
because I imagine like it must be very complex. If I am a brand and you are the specialist, so if I'm too dumb,
no, please.
But it must be very difficult for both brands and retailers to navigate the communication between them. Like I imagine like if you're a brand and you have so many retailers that you can create campaigns, like it must be very complex to have like fragments of how to operate those campaigns, right? Like, so what you're saying is like you're gonna have one single experience for them to measure, to run campaigns and measure.
Run campaigns and measure, and also to be able to think about not only ad placements that you're placing on behalf of your own campaign or initiative, but taking what is organic to a retailer site. So again, I'll use sponsored search as the example. When you go on to any site and you're shopping, you'll see what is organic based off of your shopping history or behavior, and then you'll see what's a paid placement. And there are mechanisms today and platforms like ourselves that are able to give you very predictive results on this is what this customer is looking for. We're going to see over the next year an infusion of those two things so that organic and paid placements, as you think about that holistically, that will come together, that it will be very, very seamless. And you're going to need it as you think about, again, agents as they're popping up and as a customer is shopping, they're not going to shop like search where it's very much, I want this or tell me where I find this. It's going to be, I'm going to be going to this event. This is the type of attire. I need you to help me from end to end on what are the best shoes, what I need the best outfit, and what's most trendy today. And so you think about the search behind all of that. All of that is going to have to come together and power to meet that customer demand, because our research shows that 68% of customers are actually going to want to interface with those type of chat agents. And so it's going to be on this turbocharge of not only self-serve, but also to how do you self-serve in the right way, which
then you're not working with keywords anymore.
It's exactly.
You're actually talking with, like, you're having fuller conversations.
Exactly. And so you think about the way that retailers are going to have to behave and how they're going to have to unify to get that done, or marketers, how they're going to have to think about that, the test and learn that's going to be happening. It's already happening now. Target just yesterday launched their chat agent, and it's beta. I was doing a little bit of reading on that. I was actually at Target yesterday as they were doing their earnings on it. And it's happening left and right. And so as you think about that, it's how does the media world come together with what's happening in what is the new merchandising world? And then how do you figure out all of the right search algorithms to bring the details together to ensure that what you're delivering back is a good customer experience? There's going to be a lot of test and learn and all of that. And how do you get it right? What's the right advertising within an atmosphere like that? What does it look like? How do you make sure it's seamless for the customer? So I'm super excited about, I love these types of challenges and opportunities, and how do you tackle it? I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as it's exciting.
Well, it's something new to learn.
Yeah.
Like if it was too easy, AI could do it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, like it is very complex. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure a lot of retailers and brands are asking themselves, how can they navigate this challenge?
Yeah.
Do you have any practical advice on how they should be navigating it?
Yeah, I think that retailers and brands need to invest truly in connecting the ecosystem and not in making it more complex. And when I say that, I mean making sure you get the right talent first and foremost, I think, to be able to move towards this new world, making sure that you're organized the right way, moving faster towards test and learn. How can we learn this together? I think it's really going to be a difference in how we are structured. I think both need to be always thinking about the way the customer is sitting at the center. I mean, you cannot lose sight of the customer in all of this experience, but it's more about connectivity and less complexity, that's what I would say.
You mentioned talent a few times in this interview already, and I'm curious, what are the skills of this talent that can navigate that? Because it's also like, I've interviewed people that came from agencies and joined brands. I've interviewed people that were like in the retail space, like very traditional retail, and now they're entering retail media. I think there isn't yet a graduation for someone that is specific to that. What makes this right talent the right talent?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll talk a little bit about Criteo, and then I would love to talk a little bit more about what I'm seeing at brands and agencies and retailers. So Criteo, we've got a very strong mix of engineers, product, those with experience in AI and/or developing experience in AI. We have a huge focus on AI and agentic and what it means. We are doing not only so much research, but so much test and learn on it. And that takes a different type of skill set to get that done. We also, too, have account teams. We have measurements, insights. We've got the right, business leaders that are working with our partners because we're part consultant, part tech, part ad agency. And so we have to meet the needs of all of that. And really, we sit at the center between brands, agencies, and retailers. With retailers, what we've seen over I've seen this in the last 2 years, I've talked about this a few times, is the rise of retailers adding product leaders to their business. Never had product leaders before. And even with engineers, they've maybe dealt with a couple engineers, but we've seen those teams expand. So what we've done is we've connected our product and engineering with their product and engineering, our business to their business, to make sure that we're having the right conversations. I say the same thing with insights. It's so important. And even as you think about, again, AI, and as that evolves and agentic, as you can utilize that, we're testing with insights agents that we can utilize to think about, okay, how does that work for us? How will that work for a retail partner? But you need the talent to be able to do that and to move you forward. And I think, to me, as I reflect back on 2008 all the way to where we are now, there's a skill set that will take you there and can continue to take you there over time. But you need people not only that are good in the space, but also are able to work through change and navigate and want to test and learn. You also need to know when you need to maybe change out your talent a little bit. Do you have what you need to take you there? And sometimes that's tough calls that you've got to make. But we see retailers doing that. I've seen a lot of talent coming in, some talent going. So that's been interesting when you think about who's going where. And I'd say for brands and for agencies are in such a huge revolution right now and how they're changing, especially in this world that's evolving. What type of services do they provide? Because so much is getting so much more automated. And it's really been fascinating to see agencies evolve over time and how they think about not only the type of talent they have, but what's their service model look like? Because it's not just on overhead anymore. And then you think about brands, no longer can you have these silos. And I think many brands have been moving towards this, but you actually have to be bringing these teams together because they cannot be happening independently of each other. They really need to get connected. You need to have your brand connected to your marketing, connected to your shopper marketing, connected to your digital. And we're seeing it. We're seeing big change happening there. I will say from a brand perspective, the past few years, we've been focused on global brands because more and more, these conversations for retail media aren't just happening with a retailer. They're actually happening at the global brand level with innovation budgets and multicultural budgets. And how do I spend with retail? Which in the past, this is the shopper world. Don't touch it.
And it's funny because the last interview that we had here that we covered retail media, I was talking to a brand. And they were saying, before we used to think about the conversion, the last step of the funnel. But now retail media works in every step of the funnel, which navigates to completely different areas of the business. So I think then is another challenge because it's not one person that sits with the retail media capacity. It's actually every team
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing that we are also seeing, and we've heard from marketers, from marketers, is the fragmentation. And I think fragmentation not only is happening I'm excited. There's a lot of change happening with that, but within retail media, but also fragmentation within your own organizations, quite honestly. And it's been a challenge for both. It's not just one or the other. And so I think that there's a lot of innovation coming to really better connect the ecosystem. We have to, for retail media to be truly an ecosystem, which is where it needs to evolve to. You've got to be able to reduce that. And so I think retailers are stepping up to become much more like publishers, as they should be.
They're having to learn more than just selling merchandise.
Well, you can't, but also too, you got to rethink a JBP, the joint business plan. You've got to be thinking about how you spend your co-op. You've got to be thinking co-op and media and your customer and commerce and the way everything is evolving. It needs to be revolutionized. And then also too, systems, the way that you operate, it cannot be a black box anymore. And so I think that there is that's where self-serve, a brand is going to be taking much more control over how things execute. And that's going to be important. That's going to be important from end to end, which is it's going to be very different because they also too have to spend at scale with these retailers. And so that's where this blend is going to be really interesting and really fun when you think about where things need to evolve, because you're still going to need to hit these big spend expectations, but you're going to have to be able to do it in a way that there's a lot of trust that's going to have to happen between brands and retailers.
As we're getting more holistic in the retail media approach, do you have any case study that you can talk about?
Yeah. We worked with a company called the Harvest Group recently, and they work with the large brands, and they face fragmentation and challenge, and they really wanted to measure across multiple retailers. And that's one of the things that Criteo did 5 years ago, is we built our platform as a multi-tenant platform, meaning that you can operate across multiple retailers, not just a retailer at a time. We don't believe in the walled garden approach. We think that you absolutely need to be able to operate across to make it efficient, effective. And they had come to us and had been looking for a way to do that seamlessly. And so we worked with them to develop a campaign to execute across various retailers on behalf of their brand. And we saw really, really good results with them. We saw a 98% ROAS improvement, which we were super excited about.
Not 10%, guys. No. 98%.
98%. And a 22% reduction on their CPC, which was really exciting as well. And so, it's that kind of thing where you're making it more easy and efficient, and you're also producing the results and working together. I think these are the things that haven't changed. The more you know about, each other's goals, and the more that you can work together and operate seamlessly. And actually, what's so exciting about that too is you're providing these results in real time that you can deliver these types of results. And so, it's not always the case, but I think that, again, it depends on the brand, it depends on the price, it depends on a lot of things. But when you can bring the right initiatives together with the right platform and really understand the needs and objectives, you can deliver.
Just by curiosity too, so when these companies like Harvest Group, when they have hey, they have this problem, so you assist them also understanding where the problem is and then teach them how to operate? Just
both. So, we really want to operate based off of how our partners want support.
They might not know how they can improve, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's such a new way of operating that you might not know exactly where you could be better. So it would be nice to have someone just by the way,
here's
these
how
are
you
the
do
best
it.
practices.
Well, I got to give a shout out to our team because I mentioned earlier, we're part consultant, part tech, part ad agency support, and our agency partners are our partners. And, we have team members that support the retailer and helping educate and inform the retailer and support them as they build out their RMNs. Conversely, we also too have brand as well as agency teams that are going in and working with their partners and saying, okay, what is it you're looking to do? And also too, the core of all of it is we're giving you the tools. So, we want to have that platform expertise of You want to run it, you know what you're doing, great, here you go. But if you want the guidance and help and support, here you go.
Nice.
And in some cases, at the end of the day, like a harvest group, they want to deliver for their client, and we want them to deliver for their client. And so, it's important to us.
Everybody wants each other to succeed.
We all need to win. So yes, so we're there to support where we can.
Given that we are changing so much, what did you say, and how retailers, like something very practical, like 3 steps that they should be doing right now to prepare themselves for the next 18 months in retail media?
Yeah. I think, first and foremost, you can't get by a conversation without talking about agentic and AI. And so I think retailers are going to have to, just like they did in 2020, move fast. They're going to have to think about, how do they test and learn? How do they think about advertising in this new environment? I'd say very similarly, brands and agencies are going to have to do the same. And so those 2 things, what does the future look like? And how do you think about operating in a new world that is much more complex, but making it much more streamlined? So I'd say that is one of the biggest, probably the one that we will be tackling not only this next year, but ongoing years. But we need to start now. You cannot wait. And so I say that's first and foremost. I think the other is, again, this move towards self-serve, as simple as it might seem, it's actually not, because it's going to take a bit of trust between both to bring that together. And so we are enabling the technology to do that. We see a need for brands and agencies and retailers to work together to better enable that, because that is what's going to improve the overall ecosystem. I'd say the third thing is really to think about that customer at the center and that journey of organic and paid, and how those things can come together in this new world, and being able to operate that way, because we have to think about that customer always at the center. And that will then in turn help retailers and brands rethink a JBP, rethink co-op, rethink their digital or their national media spend, rethink the way that they measure and those insights. So always the customer at the center, but that's going to mean that really we're going to have to bring together organic and search with that as well.
And Sherry, after almost 20 years in this, how do you feel yourself personally? How seeing this explosion and this change in the industry? How has it been to watch the industry from your perspective?
Fascinating is the word. Behind the scenes, I'll say 2008 to 2019 behind the scenes. Being able to be part of a massive growing space, but not too many people knew about it. I was so proud to be part of a Walmart Connect before it was Walmart Connect, and then Walmart Connect became Walmart Connect. And we were able to do that and build and have a lot of fun doing that quietly, and to build an explosion from 2020 to where we are now. And that's been fun. That has been so fun, because so many of my friends are working at RMNs. Many have been working in the brand and agency world, but so many now are working at RMNs and various measurement companies. And so it's just been rewarding to see was the ad tech, and it is still ad tech, but really explode into more of this retail media ad tech. There's a lot of great friends and knowledge experts. It used to be such a small core, and now it's grown into something so much larger. And that's fine. We're speaking the same language, and you can see so much more innovation happen now.
And what would be your advice? I always love ending my interviews with this question, because everybody has a different perspective. What would be your advice, career-wise, to everyone that wants to, succeed in their career?
It's a great question. Succeed in a career, be curious. You've got to be curious, be a bit paranoid. But in a good way. Don't be afraid of change. I'd say as a leader, hire better than you and raise the bar. If you can't do that, maybe you're not in the right spot. So keep your integrity. Always integrity. Have fun. This is hard work and it's competitive, but have a good time doing it. That's what I would say.
If you're not having too much fun doing what you do, It's going to be hard for when these challenges arrive, right?
You'll pull your hair out. And no, you can have fun while you're doing it. It's not every day is, but enjoy the ride. Have a good time doing it. And, take it day by day, every day, come in, because you have to think farther ahead, and you absolutely do. That's part of our job, especially as leaders. You have to think further ahead. But each day, you've got to muster that strength and not be afraid of change. In fact, embrace change. It's probably the biggest thing I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sherry. You're so inspiring. I can't wait to keep this conversation going and watching where the industry is going to, because it seems like it changes every day.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed it, Paula. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you.